Okay, hello and welcome everyone. It is that time of the month again. We are counting down the minutes to the latest US inflation report, or as you may have seen it, it's called the CPI, which stands for Consumer Price Index. Now, this is the big one because it is something that not just traders and investors around the world watch very closely, but you know who else is also watching it very closely? That is the Federal Reserve, aka the Fed, aka the world's most influential central bank. So if they are watching it, you got to be watching it as well. And so you are certainly starting off on the right note by tuning into this live stream. Now, I know most of you are probably watching after the fact, but just know this, right? If you're catching this after the live stream, which started at 1 p.m. GMT on this Tuesday, January 13th, if you're watching it after, well, chances are you may have missed those big moves already. Okay, but no worries. You can take these learnings that we'll share with you. For the next CPI meeting, and of course, we're gonna outline to you why. Sorry, did I just say CPI meeting? Sorry, CPI release. So that's going to be an important one, and it comes every month, around the middle of the month or so, unless there's a U.S. government shutdown like we saw in Q4 of last year, of course. But yeah, so over the next 28 minutes or so, as we count down to the official release of the CPI report, I'll share with you why this is so important and how key assets that you have come to know and love have reacted to these CPI releases every month in 2025, just to get some historical context. Okay. All right. So, with that said, let's just jump right to the charts here. So first things first, as we well, I know you guys love this. Let's start with the Bitcoin chart. So as you can see, right, very much range bound between 84k to 95k that we have seen since late November. Not really breaking out of this sideways range. Now, you may have heard the term resistance, right? So when we say resistance, just think of a ceiling. So that's where there's this 95,000 psychological level has been acting as resistance. This is back in early December, December 9th, and then again earlier this year, January 5th, right? So when we say resistance, think of a ceiling as in prices gets towards it, hits it or gets close to it, and then comes back down. Okay, resistance. As opposed to the support, think of a floor. So similarly, like 84,000, right? You saw it around December 1st, and again around December 18th. Prices come down towards it and then bounces back up. So this is seen as a support. Okay, 84,000 psychological support, 95,000 resistance. Okay, so there has been some support around these big round numbers. So more recently, over the past week or so, this 90,000 level that you can see, that white horizontal line, prices hitting it and then bouncing back off. And similarly, you've got these widely followed technical indicators like the 21-day simple moving average, that's SMA, simple moving average. Also, the 50-day simple moving average. This is more textbook, right? So prices just hitting those technical indicators before moving up. Now, if you are new to the trading universe, don't forget, here within the Bybit universe, we've got a ton of technical indicators that can help guide your trading journeys. You can find them if you are on the web trading platform. Just look in the top left hand corner. You've got this chart looking like icon. And if you hover over it, you'll see indicators. Click on it, a pop-up shows up, and then you can type in, right, moving averages, relative strength index, MACD, what have you. Okay, so you can find them all there. If you are joining us on the Bybit app, these indicators can be found under the settings icon. And for that settings icon, just look for that nuts and bolts looking like icon. You can click on there. You can change the time frames, find technical indicators, and a host of other tools to help guide your trading journeys there as well. Okay, so that's a quick check on Bitcoin, and in just a bit, I'll show you not just how Bitcoin has reacted to these CPI releases in the past, but also the forecasts according to some of the tools and models that we use for this particular CPI release coming up in 25 minutes from now. Okay, so that's a quick check-in on Bitcoin. Another popular one, the S&P 500, or here within the Bybit universe, we call it SP 500. This is a stock index. So when we say index, just know that an index is a way to measure something. So today we are waiting for the consumer price index, right? What does that index measure? Well, consumer prices, or specifically the change in consumer prices, right? So inflation, CPI. Okay, that's the CPI, the consumer price index. This stock index, S&P 500, measures the overall performance of US stock markets, specifically 500 of the leading names in their respective industries. We're talking Apple, Tesla, Nvidia, Coca-Cola, McDonald's, JP Morgan, all these big industry leading names. They put into one group or one basket, and it's measured by that one index called the S&P 500, or you can just search for SP 500 here on Bybit. So again, right, if you're not familiar and you're thinking, well, Bybit is the world's second biggest crypto exchange, but guess what? Last year, Bybit also launched its TradFi products, TRADFI, short for traditional finance. You just got to hover over the hamburger menu in the top left-hand corner. That's those three horizontal lines. You'll see this TradFi tab, and then you've got metals like gold, silver. You've even got individual stocks like Tesla, Apple, JP Morgan, etc. Indices like the one I'm showing you right now, whole bunch of them. Forex pairs like euro dollar, right? The world's most popular or the most traded FX pair in the world. USD JPY as well, GBP USD, etc. And commodities like oil and gas. Okay, all that within the TradFi tab. If you are checking this out on the Bybit app, well, guess what? Even within the Bybit app, you've got a search bar across the top. You can just type in the asset that you're looking for, and it should pop up there. Okay, on top of all the cryptos and derivatives that you are probably familiar with already. Okay, so there's a quick check on the S&P 500 hitting a new record high, just shy of the 7,000 psychologically important level yesterday. Now these are the daily time frames on the candlesticks. That means each of these bars, right, represents how that asset's prices performed in one day. Again, you can change the time frame down to 1 minute up to 1 month. And when we show you the live reaction to the CPI data, we'll zoom it all the way down to the 1 minute candlestick so that we can see just how much markets move or not, right? We'll see. But typically, expect some volatility around CPI day, okay? Here's another crowd favorite. Let's look at gold. And if you're looking for gold, the code is XAUUSD. So similarly, hovering around that big round number 4,600, just hitting record highs after record highs, just starting off 2026 pretty much in the same vein that it left off in 2025. Last year was the best year for gold prices since 1979. So if you missed out, well, guess what? We did write an article late last year pondering when we could see $5,000 for gold per troy ounce. Well, you can find that on learn.bybit.com. And, we have that article there as well. Okay, cool. Speaking of, let me just jump to some articles here real quick. Here's one that I had written earlier this week. So if your starting point is bybit.com, I'll just show you, right? So bybit.com, the way you get to it is, let me just zoom in a little bit. All right, so across the top, you see learn. Hover over it, you see Bybit Learn, click on it, and then you'll notice the URL change to learn.bybit.com. Again, this is from the desktop side, right? Then you can go on the blog and you kind of find daily bits there, or you can scroll down, you see analysis, click on analysis, and we've got the daily bits all the way down here. Okay, so if you are following this on the app, you just got to go to the top left-hand corner, click on the account icon, right? And then you'll see services. Under services, you'll see learn, and that's where you will find all of our treasure trove of content to perhaps give you ideas and or inspiration about what you could consider next for your next trade or investment. Okay, so here's one that I wrote yesterday. It's called 3 assets to watch for this week. Now I'll scroll all the way down, right? We've got AUD USD because that was the best performing G10 currency, the Aussie dollar, the Australian dollar against the US dollar so far this year. I know it's only been a few days, but already it's had a head start against its G10 peers. So that's something to look out for, whether it can continue in that vein and hit a new 15-month high. We'll definitely look at this, after the CPI is released. JP Morgan also, right? Well, whether it'll hit a new record high, well, judging by some pre-market numbers, maybe not so much because markets are kind of flat. I'll kind of show you this real quick, okay? So remember, if I scroll all the way up, you'll see the date for this was January 12th. This was before JP Morgan released its earnings today. And so you keep me accountable, right? So I put this number here, 3.2%, right? That's what options markets were predicting this stock could move. So now that we are in the midst of digesting JP Morgan's earnings that was just announced, even though US markets have not officially opened yet. This is what we call pre-market. But you see here, and I'll put in my Bloomberg chart here. Hope you can see that. So it did, get close to that 3.2% number I cited yesterday in the article. It's instead 3.3%. However, it's gone both ways, right? So it looks like, perhaps Jamie Dimon, who is the CEO of JP Morgan, is perhaps giving some mixed signals or getting some mixed signals from the earnings report that we just got a few minutes ago, really. So, that 3.3% number that we're seeing live now, right? That up down move, pretty close to that 3.2% number that we said yesterday. But there is still a bit of a gap between the let me zoom in. Those targets that we had drawn on the chart here. This is JP Morgan chart. Hopefully you guys can see it. If not, you can go check it out and learn.bybit.com, right? Of 319 to the downside or 340 to the upside. It's now closer to 319. It fell down to as low as 321, just a couple of bucks shy of that downside price target. But again, we'll see, because the US cash session isn't open for another hour and 15 minutes from now. Again, we're going to get the CPI data in just a bit, right? But yeah, now this one I wanted to highlight. This is Monero, or you can find it as XMR USDT within the Bybit universe. So yesterday we pondered the question, right? Because it just rose so much already, over 30% so far in 2026 as of yesterday. And we pondered, could it keep going higher, right? So we also highlighted the risk of a technical pullback, which it did. And then here we go, like just today, and we posted this on Twitter. Our Twitter handle is @Bybit_learn. Again, that's @Bybit_learn. And boom, here we go. All right, you can see the post there. It got to almost a whisker, just a few dollars shy of $700. So between when I published an article yesterday until when I posted this on X, it's gone up by over 20%. Question is, did you miss out? And make sure you don't miss out because you can always find all of these content pieces and potential ideas and inspiration at this URL down in the bottom right-hand corner, learn.bybit.com, and look for daily bits. Okay. So again, those of you on the app, right, go to the account icon and look for Learn. It's one of the services that we provide under within the Bybit universe, of course. Okay, so check out this graphic that we posted at Bybit_learn. That's our handle on X. Also, for those of you joining us on YouTube, thank you, welcome. Our YouTube channel, we're also streaming live there. You just got to search for Bybit Learn Official, right? Bybit Learn Official, and then make sure you click on the live tab. That's where we've got all the live streams that we do here, all archived there. That way you can refer back to it, but more importantly, you can keep me accountable. Okay, I've got my YouTube live chat here open, so if you guys got any questions or any charts or assets that you want me to take a look at, feel free to let me know. I'm a bit slower on the X chat. I might only respond there after the live stream is over because I just have too many tabs open here, folks. So just bear with me, okay? Okay, with that said, let's go right back to the charts here. Let's do some Econs 101 lesson about why everybody is obsessed or paying close attention to these monthly CPI reports, okay? All right, so here we go. Okay, so now US inflation data, why it matters. Okay, so again, we are talking about the Federal Reserve, the Fed, the US central bank, the most influential central bank in the world. They've got one job, which is to manage the US economy, but specifically, they've got two sides of that one job, or what we call mandate. One is maximum employment. And if you are not aware of what that is, go check out our live stream from last Friday, January 9th, as we preview the US jobs report or non-farm payrolls, NFP. I gave you an explainer there about why the monthly US jobs report is important as well. Typically, that is released on the first Friday of every month. So the maximum employment is one half of the Fed's mandate. Okay. The other half is what they call stable prices. Now, what is stable in the Fed's lexicon? They put it at 2%. Okay. They see this as a sustainable rate for consumer prices to still rise, but not cause too much damage or not cause damage to the US economy. Okay. This is a target that they've had since 2012. Okay, so that is something to keep in mind as we go, as we lead up to the CPI release in about 14 minutes from now. Okay, so why this matters? Because the Fed has got one main tool that it uses to achieve those goals: maximum employment and stable prices. Okay, so the idea is that if inflation is still high, okay, and I'll share with you what economists are forecasting for this CPI data in just a bit. But if inflation is still high, the Fed's way of curing it is to keep interest rates high, or like we saw, after the pandemic, they were just raising interest rates to cool down inflation. Okay, I won't go into the whole, Econs 101 lesson. That's a whole 1 hour lecture in and of itself. But just know this: inflation high, interest rates high. Okay, just as a simple rule of thumb. Okay, as opposed to when there's inflation that's cooling down or perhaps lower than expected, or even lower than the 2% inflation target, the Fed then lowers interest rates so that it can achieve its 2% inflation goal. Okay, that's the idea going into this CPI meeting. Okay, sorry, I keep saying CPI meeting. Sorry, because I want to say FOMC meeting. That's only due on late January, January 27th, 28th. This is a CPI release. Sorry, my apologies. Okay, so here's a quick 101 lesson about why this is so important, at least to help guide you how markets, how investors, how the central bank is thinking when we get those official numbers here in about 12 minutes. Okay. Now, quick check. I'll leave this on the screen here for a bit. Here's how major assets like gold, the S&P 500, and Bitcoin have reacted to these CPI prints over all of last year, 2025. So from 15th January all the way to December, you will notice that the November one is missing, and that's because we had the US government shutdown, so they did not release the October CPI data. Okay, so today is January 13th. We're going to get the December CPI data, right? But just for reference, I just put the dates there just so you can look back and see how much prices have reacted to these CPI releases that happens typically around the middle of the month, okay? Again, exceptions being November and the one in October 24th, even though there was still a US government shutdown, they had kind of gathered enough data to at least release the numbers to investors and traders around the world. Okay. Hope you can. If you want to take a screenshot, by all means, go for it. Okay. But we got a bit more to cover. So very importantly, all right, folks, before we look back at the charts in the last 10 minutes, don't forget, folks, we've got a special giveaway just for these live streams. Okay, if you are a new Bybit user or you have yet to enter the Bybit universe, make sure you scan this QR code now, because you can then sign up for a new Bybit account and get your share of over 20,000 USDT in rewards that we've set aside just for these live streams. Okay, if your QR scanning app thingy doesn't work, no worries. You can smash the link in the YouTube description below. If you're watching us on X, that link is also available on the X post description for this live stream, or just head on down to @Bybit_learn, and then you can find the link around there. Okay, we've only got maybe a week or so left for this prize pool, right? So do not miss out, especially if you have yet to enter the Bybit universe. This is for new Bybit users, new signups. Here, scan the QR code or click on the link on YouTube or on X @Bybit_learn. Now, once you do that, I'll show you where you'll get to. Okay, so if you head on down to, or you will actually land on this page. Let me just, there we go. Oh. Okay, so Now, the price pool that I showed you earlier, that's for new users. If you are an existing Bybit user, the OG, as some of you like to call yourselves, well, guess what? You scan the same QR code or tap on the same link, you end up on this page. All right. And then once you get to this page, you'll actually see different tasks that you can complete just to get even further rewards. And for this one, we've got a prize pool of 5,000 USDT set aside just for you. Okay. So if you're a new user watching this, guess what? You get a double bonus, right? So not only do you get those rewards for signing up, but you can then, once you've completed the whole process, you can also be in the running for this additional 5,000 USDT prize pool per week. Okay. All you got to do is just complete the tasks that we have set out for you every week. Okay. Be it just submitting your documents and completing the sign up process, or try out our products like trading with bots, or our earn products. All right. Or even inviting friends, trade a spot product, or even depositing. You can get rewards there, or also engage with our content, right? Like an article, share an article, even post your own article. You can get rewards. And then you can stack yourself up against these folks who have already taken advantage. And what the leader here has claimed 300 USDT alone just from completing all these tasks. The rest are kind of lagging behind, or some as low as 15, right? So look, there's still plenty up for grabs here. This is 5,000 USDT per week on top of the 20,000 USDT prize pool we have just for these live streams. Okay, so make sure you click on that link that we have in the description on YouTube and also on X. Okay, all right, we're counting down the minutes to the CPI release, so I better start setting up my charts here. So going back to the charts, this is Bitcoin. So this is the 1 day time frame, right? I'm going to show you. Well, I'll tell you what. Let me find one of these empty ones. All right, so this, if you guys got any questions, feel free to pop them into the YouTube live chat. I'm sorry, folks on X. I know you're probably watching this. 99% of you, well over 90% of you are watching this after it. So I hope you didn't miss out too much. But yeah, you can let me know in the charts. In the YouTube chat, what you want to look at. Let me just go ahead and get this set up. Bitcoin down to the 1 minute chart. We are counting down 7 minutes till the CPI. Oh, wait, one more thing. Sorry, I forgot to show you the economist forecast. So again, head on down to learn.bybit.com. Click on blog, daily bits. Okay, let me just share this with you quickly, just to so you know, right, what markets are kind of benchmarking the official numbers today. Okay, so 2.7%, that's a rise year on year. That's how much consumer prices have risen between December 2025 versus December 2024, year on year. All right. Again, today's release is for the December US inflation report. Yeah. So it's backward looking. The month on month rise is 0.3% and 2.7% rise year on year for what's called core CPI. That's a way of measuring inflation that removes some of the more volatile stuff like food and gas prices in the US, right? That can change on a daily basis almost, right? So these are the numbers that markets will be used to benchmark, right? So I've also outlined some potential market reactions. So based off of these numbers here, these economists forecast, if we get higher, then you know what higher means, right? So it's higher than 2.7 or higher than 0.3% on the month basis, right? Or lower, right? Lower than you can benchmark against what those economists' forecasts are. Okay, that's coming up in about 6 minutes from now. Yeah, you can check out the article again. That's learn.bybit.com. Search for blog and then click on daily bits. Or if you're on the app, just go to the top left hand corner, click on your account. Under services, look for Learn. That is one of the many services that we offer here within the Bybit world, on top of the giveaways that we mentioned earlier. Okay, so going back to this, I will just go pull up the Bitcoin chart and zoom on down to the 1 minute time frame. Right, I'm gonna get some of these set up. Probably gold. Yeah. So again, top left hand corner. Excuse me. You can go down to the 1 minute time frame. That's 1M. Okay. Yeah, I think that's good enough. Okay, cool. That's 1 minute. Let me do the same for S&P 500. It's going to ruin all my charts, but it's okay. It's going to be worth it, right? Just to show you at least how markets remain sensitive to these CPI data releases, which comes out every month. So while this may look dramatic on the 1 minute time frame, just know that if you zoom back out to the 1 day time frame, right, not really moving much. We also have listed the forecasts within the article that I showed you earlier. Just scroll all the way down. Tell you what, let me go back to it again. Sorry. We got time. We got 4 more minutes, right? So in today's article, which shows the expectations in the lead up to this US inflation report, scroll all the way down and you can see all of the different market predictions for these assets. Okay, now note that these predictions are for the 6 hours after the CPI release, according to the model that we use. So Bitcoin, Ethereum, Ripple, Solana, US stock indices, gold, silver, oil, major G10 currency pairs, right? All those forecasts are there as well. Now, to be clear, none of this is financial advice. We certainly use different tools and models within the Bybit universe to help guide you through the markets, but none of this is financial advice. Please, please, please be aware. Okay, let me finish setting up my charts here. This is 1 minute. What else do you guys want to look at? Gold? Yeah, sure. Let's look at it. Okay. Okay, so that's S&P 500 that you see on the screen. Gold, yeah, just not wanting to move far from that. Yeah, so this is what you call support, right? Again, when we say support, think of the floor. Broke above 4,600, comes back down, bounces up, and then just did it literally a minute ago. This is the 1 minute time frame on gold. So gold, if you're searching for gold within the Bybit universe, just look for XAU USD plus. Okay, that is I'll just give it a bit more bandwidth just in case things get really crazy here. Who knows? It could be a shocker, right? Beyond the 2% CPI number that we get. To be clear, even with all these data incoming, you've got the Fed meeting coming up at the end of this month. So markets are using the last Friday's non-farm payrolls, NFP, jobs report to try and predict what the Fed will do, not just at this month's meeting, but they've got 6 scheduled meetings throughout the year. 8 scheduled meetings throughout the year, right? So they got to use this data to try and anticipate what the Fed will do with interest rates, right? But as it stands, markets are literally only pricing in a 5% chance that the Fed could cut interest rates this year. In January. That decision is due by January 28th. But if you look at the whole of the entirety of 2026, markets still fully expect 2 rate cuts this year. Generally, assets like gold, stocks, even cryptos, they generally go up at the thought of interest rates coming down. Sometimes they don't even wait for the Fed to actually make the decision. If they expect the Fed to cut, prices are already moving. So that's where you got to keep up to date with what's happening in the markets. And we here at Bybit Learn, we're certainly going to help you do that. Okay, you just got to make sure you follow along on socials. You got to follow along on our daily bits where we keep you posted and help you identify some potential opportunities. If you missed that 20+% move in Monero, that's another crypto that we highlighted in yesterday's article. You can find that at learn.bybit.com, and you missed out, right? You can see the whole post on Bybit_learn. Okay, we are counting down the seconds till the CPI report is released. And shall we look at what do you look at? Bitcoin? What do you guys want to see? Bitcoin is good? Okay, this is the 1 minute chart. Yeah, let me remove this so I can make it clearer. Let's see if we got any big spikes here. Okay, here we go. Well, as far as the numbers are concerned, they all came in line exactly with expectations, for most of them at least. CPI month on month, 0.3%, just as economists had predicted. CPI year on year, 2.7%, in line with the economists surveyed by Bloomberg, also matching the headline CPI, that's inflation number from November as well, 2.7%, that's year on year. Maybe for the core, it's slightly cooling though, right? So 2.6%. So I think maybe that's the news right there, like lower, slightly lower than expected CPI for core. Again, that is the way of measuring inflation that strips out volatile food items and energy prices. So, right, lower than expected inflation. Bitcoin, right, jumping up a little bit, about $300 or so to 92,525, right, before coming back down and then continuing into cent right now. So you've got this $300. Well, actually, well, even from 2 minutes ago before the CPI, you've got an almost $500 move in Bitcoin prices, at least as an initial reaction, right? Quick check, that's on Bitcoin. Quick check in on the S&P 500. How about that candlestick? Very nice. Okay, you got this lower than expected. Oh, I got to zoom out quite a lot. Here we go. Almost touching that 7,000 level, right? So remember this white line that we drew on the daily charts? That's the 7,000 mark. I think, yeah, there we go. It's touched 7,000 or almost 6,999.78, right? Almost touching the 7,000 mark for the first time in its history. That's SP 500. Looking at gold here. How about that for a price? What is interesting? Gold had an initial spike up higher above 4614 before pulling back a little bit. So, right, while it may look big, especially the S&P 500 one, oops, this is way too big. While it looks dramatic on the 1 minute time frame, this is going back to the 1 day time frame, so you can see still within that wick that we saw from yesterday's 1 day candlestick, right? So not that much, but still, it is important to note that on the 1 minute time frame, at least, there was a sizable move there, at least on the very small time frame. Yeah, sorry folks, I got to move around so much because I got too many tabs and charts. But hey, if you guys want to see a specific asset and how it's reacting to these CPI numbers, just let me know. Okay, so gold spiking higher because you got that lower than expected core CPI print. S&P 500, there we go, touching 7,000 for the first time ever in its history, now climbing well above it, 7,001 there. So that's a good 30 or so 30 index point move just within the span of 3-4 minutes. Okay, any other assets that you guys want to look at? So if you go back to the forecasts or the potential scenarios that are outlined in the article that I'm showing you here again. Okay, so again, we got lower than expected, right? Gold up, well, we'll see, right? Very close to hitting a new all-time high. Let me just zoom in a little bit, right? US stock indices, right, moving higher. See, I highlighted this, new record highs, S&P 500. Oh, the Dow Jones. Okay, let me show you the Dow Jones. So within the Bybit universe, the Dow Jones, which is a really old index, perhaps not as sexy as some make it out to be, of late. You've got the NASDAQ 100 and S&P 500 that seems to claim a lot more eyeballs and the market's attentions here. But within the Bybit universe, it's called DJ30. So just type in DJ30, or you can just hover over it, click on TradFi, click on indices, and then scroll down till you see DJ30 at the bottom here. Right. So yep, this is the DJ30. Let's go back to the 1 day time frame. Yes, so a new record high for the Dow Jones index. Right, so as outlined here in this article, did you miss out? Right, we mentioned new record highs for S&P 500 and Dow Jones. Done. Okay, gold to a new all-time high, maybe not yet, right, but it is climbing back higher towards its all-time high that it registered yesterday. Yeah, let's check in on some G10 currency pairs here. So I've got euro dollar set up here. Tell you what, we'll just leave it on the 1 day time frame because I think zooming in and out will just kind of give you guys maybe whiplash. So okay, on the daily time frame, right, maybe not looking so much. The euro dollar, which is the world's most popular FX pair, the most traded FX pair, finding support around this 50-day simple moving average, right? Very textbook, very widely followed technical indicator before bouncing up. But probably if we zoom down to the 1 minute time frame, there we go, right? So something a bit more dramatic. Okay, so big spike up as we had highlighted in the article as well. Okay, quick check in on AUD USD, this is one of the assets that we highlighted as one to watch, or one of the three to watch this week. If you missed out, Monero has already posted new all-time highs, like we mentioned yesterday, well above $600. Yesterday, I was trading below $600 when we published an article. Today, it's gotten very, very close to $700. You can check out that whole setup at our X handle. That's at Bybit_learn. AUD USD also spiking higher, right? So when you see these FX pairs, AUD USD, when it goes up, that means the base currency, which is in the left-hand side, AUD, is getting stronger against the USD, which is on the right side, or they call it the quote currency. Right side, quote, left side, base. Okay. So when this goes up, Aussie dollar is getting stronger against the US dollar, or you could say US dollar, in this case, is getting weaker against the Aussie dollar. That's why it goes up. Okay. Same thing with Euro dollar, GBP, USD, etc. Now, if you look at USD JPY, then it's flipped, right? Because USD is in the front, the left side, that's the base currency, and then JPY is the quote, right? So that one is flipped around. And in fact, USD JPY just hit its highest level since July 2024, I believe, just today because of some political news. The reports about a potential snap election in Japan may be happening by early February, right? So political uncertainty, markets don't really like it, so they tend to sell that currency. Hence, weaker yen, stronger dollar, USD JPY goes up. But in the aftermath of this CPI that was just released, everything matching economists' expectations except for that core CPI, which came in lower than expected, 2.6% compared to the expected 2.7%, right? So hence, you've got all these gains in major FX pairs like AUD USD, GBP USD, Euro USD, all those that we had highlighted in the article here. Okay, lower than expected, bam, all playing out as expected. Will we see a new record high for gold before the daily session is over? You let me know. Okay, but overall, now this is not financial advice. We are still constructive and bullish on gold. We do expect gold to be hitting $5,000 here soon, and I've specifically also mentioned which month. You just got to check out that article on learn.bybit.com. Search for the headline. I think when will gold hit $5,000 or something like that. Okay, go check it out. Learn.bybit.com. All right, cool. Folks, if you've got any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat. But this is Bitcoin on the daily time frame, so it may not look like much on the daily time frame here, right? But going back to the 1 minute time frame, yeah, initial spike up before some profit taking. Right now, trying to find its balance here, or a new equilibrium, as they call it in market speak. Same thing, S&P 500 on the 1 minute chart touched 7,000 for the first time in its history. In fact, went up to as high as this is 7001.78 before pairing some of those gains, right? So I mean, it's not seismic, so I think this is just some knee-jerk moves. 2.6% is still a fair ways away from the Fed's 2% target, but it is heading in the right direction. So hopefully, if inflation continues subsiding or cooling down towards that 2% target for the Fed, then the Fed could be allowed to cut interest rates. Markets expect 2 more rate cuts by the end of this year, but no cut for this January meeting unless, the incoming US jobs report. Next one is due in early February. If that shows a steep worsening in the US jobs market, something to look out for, okay? Gold, yeah, climbing higher a little bit, 4616. This is on the 1 minute time frame. But on the daily chart, yeah, I gotta keep zooming back out. The all-time high as it stands is 4630.23. Sorry, this is actually the 1 day chart. So it's only about $15 away. So that's less than 1% away. 1% is now $46 or so. So yeah, it's only about $16 away. So less than 1% away from its all-time high, but climbing higher, right? So who knows? Maybe that potential scenario that I outlined in the article, gold potentially hitting a new all-time high. Yeah, that's not too far-fetched now, given that we know with certainty that we have the latest US inflation data coming in, core coming in lower than the forecasted 2.7%. In fact, just matching November's 2.6% year-on-year rise. Okay, cool. All right, I think that's pretty much it. So, if nothing else, just remember, okay, arguably the two most important or the most widely watched economic data releases out of the world's largest economy, Number one, jobs report. Okay, that's the non-farm payrolls, comes out typically first Friday of every month, unless there's a government shutdown or something. Number two, what we see today, CPI, right? Consumer Price Index, aka inflation, typically released around the middle of every month. These form the jobs market and the inflation outlook, or the inflation situation, let's call it that, forms two parts of the Fed's mandate of stable prices and maximum employment. Certainly very important for the world's most influential central bank, and certainly should be very important for traders and investors around the world as well. All right. Okay. I don't see any questions on YouTube, although there's quite a handful of you watching there. Well done. Sorry again to those on X if you are watching and commenting there. It'll probably take me 6 minutes just to get to the comments tab, but I see quite a lot of interactions there. So thank you, thank you, thank you. All right, so we'll leave it at that. Now, don't forget, again, we've got, for those of you who just joined, I'll just show this one last time. We do have a special giveaway for these live streams. Okay, it's 20,000 USDT set aside just for these live streams and specifically for new Bybit users. Okay, all you got to do is scan the QR code, right, and sign up for a new Bybit account, or you can tap on the link in the YouTube description below, and of course hit that subscribe button as well. You can find this same sign up link on Bybit Learn's X platform. Our handle is at Bybit_learn. Sign up and you can get your share of 20,000 USDT in rewards. All right. And if you are already within the Bybit universe, you can still scan the same QR code, still tap on the same link, right? And you go to a page and you can see all these different tasks that you can complete to earn yourselves your share of a further 5,000 USDT that we have in rewards set aside every week. All right, cool. That's it for today. Thank you all so much for joining this live stream. Hope you didn't miss out. And if nothing else, I hope at least that this is some insights. These are some insights that you can use to help you